Hello, this is Jordan. This video is being recorded on the late afternoon of Friday, January 6th, 2023. Thank you so much for joining me today. In this video, I am just going to do a quick wrap up of the week that was and perhaps look ahead to next week for gold and silver. Let's get right into it. So first off here, we have the daily candle charts for gold and silver. Gold at the top, silver at the bottom, along with the 200-day moving average in blue. Red lines are resistance levels, blue lines are support levels. At the bottom, we have the gold-silver ratio. And as you can see in the thumbnail there at the far right, gold has been outperforming silver since the very end of last year, or at least since the start of this week. I think I mentioned it in the last video 4 days ago or so. It's interesting, though, because the stock market perked up today, maybe for the time being. That support at 3,800 is going to hold. And in that kind of scenario, you would think that silver is going to outperform gold. But that hasn't been the case in the last 3 or 4 days. And looking at the thumbnails for silver, you can look there at the far right, and there were 3 days of distribution before today. So we can see that today gold was able to close higher and made a higher high. Silver, no. Silver would need to close above, I think, where is it, 24.20 or so, or 24.30. Silver would have to close above there to make a higher high. So it's interesting. Silver led this move. Now it's fading, didn't make a new high this week. So for me, I think that's a warning sign that we're getting to the tail end of this rebound. And so this is not something I would want to chase at this point, just the sector in general. Not expecting a huge pullback, but it looks to me like this move is very long in the tooth. And you can see the resistance levels. We can see the line there in silver, which is around 24.5 or so. Silver's bumped up above that quite a bit, traded above it, looks like for a day or two this week. Wasn't able to hold the gains. And gold was able to push up. It tested 1870, I believe, 2 days ago. Yeah, Wednesday. And today it traded as high as almost 1875. So it closed just a tad below 1869. We can call it 1870. There's stiff resistance there. So looking at gold in the very big picture, I think 1840 to 1950, that's the resistance that gold will have to work through and chew through for a little while, in my opinion. Looking at more specific levels, I think if gold makes a weekly close above 1990, that would be the second highest weekly close ever. If gold made a monthly close above 1950, that would be the second highest monthly close ever. So those are also levels and closes that I'm focusing on. But here and now, I'd be surprised if gold was able to have one more push. Well, let me say this. I'd be really surprised if gold was able to push through 1900 on this move. I don't see it. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see some selling next week and gold isn't able to push that much above 1870. Maybe gold's able to reach 1900 intraday, but it closes at 1880 or 87 or whatever, and then it comes back down and it remains below 1870 at that point. So those are a couple scenarios. Support levels, assuming we get a short-term or an interim peak here, look at the 200-day moving averages. Those, they're flattening out and the slope is starting to turn higher. That's what you want to see. You want to see these 200-day moving averages starting to slope upward. And then if we get into a little correction, we want to see the metals hold above the 200-day. No biggie if they come down, retest, hold above it, and the 200-day moving averages are starting to slope up during that correction. Okay, so let's talk about the stocks. Very simple here. The stocks, we have I shouldn't say a bit of a breakout. We have a clear breakout from bullish consolidations. The measured upside targets, I noted, I think in the last video, look at GDXJ there in the middle, 42. I think is where the pattern measures to, and 42 happens to be. That's the next area of significant resistance. And for GDX, I believe that measures up to, I want to say close to 34. So drawing that red line there, that comes into play. I want to say 33, 33 and a half. So again, when we're looking at targets, we look at, where does the math measure to, and then how does that interact with previous tops and bottoms on the chart? That those key lateral or horizontal levels. And so we can see here clearly for GDX and GDXJ, 33 and a half, and then for GDXJ 42. So miners we do have a breakout here. So this move could I don't know if I want to say should, because I always like to be conservative, but this move should have a little bit more upside. And who knows, maybe that maybe that means gold can have a day or two where it tries to it moves above 1870 and tries to test 1900. That could coincide with GDX and GDXJ getting really close to those targets. Now, SILJ, as I think I noted last week, silver stocks led this move, or silver did, but the silver stocks, they have been lagging since the beginning of December. So the upside target for SILJ, looking here in the low 12s to the mid 12s, and looking at, again, the past price action, that's where the resistance comes into play. So what I should say is, the stocks are looking good. It looks like we'll probably see some more buying come into play next week. But, looking at these charts, gold got up to 1870, really stiff resistance at 1900, and silver is already lagging. And so those are the signals that you start to see when a short-term move is probably getting close to peaking, reversing, or pausing. This is a good breakout, though, on the stocks. I mean, looking at these sorry, I had to cough there for a moment. Looking at these patterns, there's a difference between a breakout from a triangle pattern and a breakout from a bull flag. When you break out from a triangle tends to be that leads to the last move in the larger trend. So if for GDX and GDXJ, if these are breakouts from a triangle, that tells you that this move is going to be the end move of this rebound. Now, if they were breaking out from a bull flag, a bull flag tends to come earlier. It tends to come almost after the initial bottom, the initial move up, and then you tend to get another huge move after a bull flag. So even though these consolidations for GDX and GDXJ, and SILJ as well. Well, SILJ, I wouldn't say it's a bull flag, but even though the first two, those are tight enough to be bull flags, I think they're more triangle consolidations in this instance. Okay, so that's all for this video. Again, starting to see some warning signs from silver, gold, starting to get into some really stiff resistance, but the stocks, based on the breakouts here, you could have some buying that comes into play next week. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Hope you had a great week. Hope you have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you guys again next week.